everyone, and welcome to Season 5, Episode 8 of the Holistic Financial Fitness Series in collaboration with Mupo Entertainment and Mupo TV. I'm Jeffrey E. Berger, and as the CEO and founder of Abundance and Optimum Wellness, I am of the belief we all should be living a life of abundance and optimum wellness, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. So before I bring on my very, very special guest today, J Esposito, to the stage, if I may. First, if you'd like to connect with me, please scan the QR code, which you'll get access to my digital business card. Next, for those who are new to the series, welcome. And I'm humbled you're watching because I'm passionate about showcasing amazing individuals on a mission to helping make a difference, sharing from their hearts what they are doing and the mission that they are personally giving me joy to share with you as well. Many of you have been really following me for quite some time. I'm humbled by that. I thank you. And you're already aware of my holistic journey. And today it's all about circumventing the system. You know, true wealth encompasses various perspectives and really goes on just financial prosperity. And it includes overall well-being and fulfillment in different areas of life. And in today's world, it is evident that our current systems are broken and corrupt, causing major disruptions globally. And it has become imperative for individuals to become more aware of the true state of affairs. You know, and by understanding the underlying issues and challenges, people can take a more proactive approach towards creating change. And it is essential to look really beyond the surface and delve deeper into the complexities of our systems in order to address the root causes and work towards a more just and equitable future. Awareness and knowledge are powerful tools that can empower individuals to become catalysts for positive transformation. Our goal is to educate and to inform, fostering a deep understanding of the benefits and opportunities that decentralized systems bring today. I truly, truly believe that by embracing decentralization, individuals can reclaim their autonomy and actively participate in shaping a more equitable and inclusive future. We provide real solutions for real people and those who are serious about wanting to go from barely surviving to barely thriving. So with that, don't go away. We're going to be right back. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back with Mr. J Esposito. So don't go away. So we are back with Mr. J Esposito, who is joining us from New York City, my old stomping grounds back in the 80s. I'm dating myself here. Brian is the founder and the president of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises, LLC, where he believes time is our most precious commodity. And EIE ultimately became a holding company with over 23 years around business startups and investments in industries such as restaurants, commercial real estate, TV and film, beauty, energy, oil, just to list a few. And Brian, congratulations for being ranked number 2 in the 2020 World CEO of the Year Award. That is a prestigious award indeed. And most recently, in August of 2023, he became the CEO of Diamond Lake Minerals, where they specialize in the development and support of digital assets and SEC registered security tokens. So Well, I could go on with all these accomplishments that he's had over the decades, but I'm truly humbled to have him here today as a special guest. And welcome, Brian, to season 5, episode 8 of Holistic Financial Fitness Series.
Season 5, episode 8. Those are great numbers, Jeffrey. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to have you here. So before we get started, let's share a little bit about who Brian is.
Oh, we're going to do that today. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Oh, boy.
I want them to know a little bit about who you are.
Okay. Great question. I'm still trying to figure out who I am, but what I could share with you is, professionally, I love building businesses. I love creating value. Really rewarding for me to help anybody, really. But if you're looking at specifically in my professional career, to help founders succeed, I've been through so much in my career. I've been building companies since a teenager, so I'm honored that I've gotten my ass kicked every way you can think of. Even more humbled that I've overcame them and still stayed true to my core values and ethics and morals, and not becoming an angry, bitter, jaded person, which is very easy to do. So, who I am is a consistent, self-aware person that just tries to do good, no matter how hard that can be when life can smack you around a little bit. Tries to help people, and it's rewarding. It's therapeutic, actually, to be able to reflect on the things that I've been through when I'm helping a founder, an entrepreneur, or a startup group to avoid some of the pitfalls that I went through. But I also have to be conscious enough to say, those experiences made me who I am today. I'm glad I went through them. They've given me strengths and experiences that I needed to be a seasoned CEO. So it's also, you have to let those people go through some of that stuff so they can get beat up a little bit and have those bruises. But it's nice to know that I'm there where it won't go too far. And I'm there as a foundation and a support. And why that's also rewarding for me is I didn't have that when I was doing it. So I know what people need, and I know when to step. I know when to step back. I can be on both sides of the table, which I think makes me a pretty unique, well-rounded person to work with, because I've always tried to replicate myself in other people, and it's an impossible task.
Yeah, there's only one Brian.
There is, like a snowflake. I'm just like a little snowflake flying around this life
in this big world here. And you bring up a really great point about falling down, getting back up, and that's what it's all about. We fail, we fall. The objective is to get back up and learn through that process, which is what I'm doing today. After coming out of corporate America for 27 years, sitting at a desk and being dictated to, it's a whole different experience.
Yeah.
And but it's been very, very rewarding. So thanks for sharing that with the group. So as we said, your career has expanded decades, and I call you a serial entrepreneur. Okay, and I talk about big fish. You're a megalodon. I call you a megalodon as an entrepreneur. So what or who was that catalyst that got you onto the amazing career path that you're on today?
I wish I can point credit to somebody. It would have been a lot easier. And not to sound obnoxious, it was me. I wanted to do something, whatever that is. I still want to do something, whatever that is. That's why I'm always involved in what I believe is the next, not trend, not fad trend, but next real industry or technology or something that's here to stay. And because that's who I am, I just pick up the phone and call people. I go and walk into buildings without an appointment to sit down with somebody. Things that I don't know why I have that in me. I think there's an old soul in here that just does things that I believe are in a really genuine but clever way to just get what I want to try to accomplish. But what was always unique about my strategy, and again, it's just who I am, was I never went into any discussion, room, meeting, phone call with my hand out. It was, here's what I see.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to help you? What can I do to add value? And how can we together build and create something? The issue with that is you never know what you're going to do with somebody until you're in bed with them. So, yeah, I've done that with the wrong people. It's put me in harm's way. I've done that with every descriptive adjective you can think of. But I'm also grateful that I met those people because they served a purpose.
Right.
which is interesting enough, is I met some of my best friends and colleagues and partners and things because we both got screwed by the same person.
Oh,
So
wow.
we formed
That's a
a
small
trauma.
world.
Yeah, and we formed the trauma bond,
Yeah.
and that trauma bond's formed because me and this other person, we think that we're smart. We can't believe we got taken advantage by somebody. Someone stole from us. Somebody, whatever they did.
Right.
So then it turns into, like a quick little moment where you laugh about it, and you're grateful that that SOB did what they did, or we wouldn't have met. So it could be justification or rationalization we do as human beings to just make sense of things. But also those people that did me wrong, I never blame them. I always blame myself wherever I find myself or whatever happens to me in life or my
Mhm.
actions and my decisions. And my job as a person that continues to try to evolve is to, okay, I can't be in that position again. So that person looked, smelled, and tastes like this. If I meet that person again with a different name and different clothes, I'll know
You'll
the
know. Right.
outcome. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think many entrepreneurs encounter that same experience, and it's a matter of, getting through it, as you say, and learning from those mistakes so we can become better and keep moving forward rather than quitting, which
Yeah.
is what so many people do. So you have to date been involved with, I'm just blown away by this, 95 plus holdings, 200 plus joint ventures, and involved with 25 plus industries, which I mentioned some of them in the introduction. Which one is your favorite and why?
Hmm. Oh,
That's going to be tough.
that's a trick question.
Yeah.
I love them all like children, but I do have a connection to the music industry. That's always is and will be my favorite. I absolutely love being involved in that industry. There's nothing like going into a studio with and there's nothing, but with the right songwriters, performers, band, engineer, producer, you create something that now lives forever in history. So that process is, I love it. I could sit in a studio 24/7. But what I really love about it is, okay, in my other companies and reach, and you start to look at this ecosystem that I built,
Mhm.
the main goal is that all these companies are supposed to work well together, share resources, open up opportunities. So if you're going to focus, let's say in the music industry, for example, now that we identified an artist that I want to work with or we work with, and then there's great content or music being created around them, what's the strategy that we can put behind them that's not typical? I don't like typical strategies. I like, how can we do something different? How do we not have to spend a bunch of money? Because I was the guy when I, just like all the industries that I got involved in, I was the guy that first got into that industry with no experience and gotten used, abused, and tossed to the curb.
Mm.
But I
Yeah.
need that. I need to go through that. I need to
Right.
understand where the bodies are buried, who to work with, who not to work with, and that's the only way that you learn is you get smacked around a little bit. So early on in my career in that industry was just writing checks, and I knew the producers were just laughing at me because they were just cashing checks, and there was no real machine behind the music that we were creating. It was my job was just to fund that producer's lifestyle, and there was no real connection to helping the artist. And I was like, well, I think I'm pretty smart, and if I'm being taken advantage like this, odds are that there's artists being taken advantage like this that are
Mhm.
working as waiters and waitresses. They're driving Ubers, they're delivering DoorDash, and they're trying to make money. They go to a studio, and they're believing that they're working with a producer that really has their best interest at heart and really wants to help them. Well, I found that to be not the case more than it was. So then I get really passionate about helping people in my just who I am. But when it comes to the music industry, what can we do to make an artist create momentum? What can we do to actually help them create a career? How can we help their IP become more monetized and more valuable? How can we utilize all these different technologies and then start to think about things like security tokens and where does that play in
Right.
artist development and financing music? And now you can, look at music like a security where it tends to not be in that lane when it comes to catalogs. It's in its own little bucket, but I don't know. I think it can. I think it should be a security. I think if you have a piece of IP that has a value that can increase in value and that can generate a return or a dividend or start paying, they call it royalties.
Royalties.
Why
Right.
can't we look at it like it's a security? Why can't we create a new
Mhm.
way of community build, which is exciting and what tokenomics and crypto world is all about is building these communities, also fans, So why
Right.
can't those communities be able to help support and finance an artist that they love and they want to be with, and earn from that artist's growth because of the community's support and hard work and promoting? So, this is where my mind goes as far as all the industries that I'm involved in. How does this
Sure.
new financial mechanism create transparency, create earnings and rewards for people, and in a very secure blockchain environment?
Exactly. And that you just walk me into the next question, that we talk about, that security and that token and tokenization. So two questions around beginners wanting to educate themselves when it comes to building, and you're going to know this phrase, building real sustainable valuations based on real positive earnings in the context of real estate tokenization, which is part of what I'm involved with.
Yeah.
So, with that, how can real estate tokenization, and you know what? I'm even going to slash in there and throw a slash, an artist, ensure transparency and accuracy in reporting real positive earnings to investors.
Oh, this is game changing for commercial real
Yeah.
estate. I mean, we both know that there's a massive issue in this market, just in the U.S. alone. You got 7 trillion. I think it's a little over 7 trillion now in commercial paper that comes due relatively shortly. And if you are old enough to remember '07, '08, that's not
Oh, yeah.
good. That's not a good. It's
Mm-mm.
not. What's brewing isn't very good. When traditional markets dry up, access to capital dry up, rates are up,
Yeah.
you have a problem.
Right.
But now when you have the ability to go to a global market through a security token or tokenizing a real world asset, and you can bring in theory, bring in mass amounts of capital, but little deposits on a global scale, opposed to looking for bigger deposits from
Right.
a smaller scale, it changes the game. And I like to reference, again, it depends if you're old enough, but imagine if Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers had the ability to do a global security token offering when they were trying to get a government bailout or fresh liquidity onto their balance sheet. They were
Mhm.
relying on all the traditional means, which were completely dried up and it wasn't there. And then, there was also, certain decisions that just wanted these institutions to collapse. But if they could have went to billion plus people, got a buck, $5, $10 from all of them,
Right.
that's pretty flippin' awesome. We're at that point now with technology and blockchain, and everybody having a mobile device where they can have a digital wallet and they can create some sort of a conversion from their own fiat or their own, even with companies like MoonPay, there's the ability to convert what we're used to utilizing for commerce into some sort of a token or some sort of a
Token.
security
Right.
token. And then if you can take that and convert that process and convert it into buying into a building or a shopping mall or a real estate development that you never were blessed to have the opportunity to buy into because you
Sure.
were not part of that LP network. You weren't part of the good old boys network. And now
Right.
you can be creating wealth that you never had the chance to do. That's where things get really interesting for humanity. And that's where I think you start to domino into a much more civilized planet when people have the ability to go out and earn through this new digital movement and be able to support their families, support their own growth, put food on the table, buy a home, rent an apartment, get a vehicle, whatever gives them that sense of pride, and not just be stuck in their local environment where they have little
Mhm.
to no hope to elevate.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's very, very true. It's about living a lifestyle that, just basically you can maintain and have some options because you've got some extra money. That's what most people are looking for, but many are just working paycheck to paycheck or barely surviving, and that is a massive, massive problem. So, what strategies can beginners employ to assess the sustainability of commercial real estate valuations in tokenized environments, considering factors like rental income or a property appreciation?
I mean, those are the two key ones, right? Or if you're able
Right.
to tokenize a portion of that building and you can clean up the not many people, I don't know how many people know the full structure, but usually there's a GP, there's general partners that own building or an LLC of a building or some sort of property. And they tend to go out and create LPs to bring an investment to either build that building, buy that building.
Right.
Um,
Fractional ownership.
Correct. So now if you have the vehicle to identify a property that is performing, is valuable, and maybe will appreciate in value, but the issue may be maybe they're delayed on payments to their LP. Maybe they're not liquid enough to get them out. Usually they'll create another fund to go out and buy out the first fund. There's all these different maneuvers that the wealth of the wealth always do. So you look at a property that's performing, but it's illiquid. That's where it gets really interesting for the ability for fresh capital to come in, and the fresh capital to come in from a retail investor that never had a chance to buy into that property or any real world asset. So you want to look at, I mean, all these buildings have prospectus. They have their revenue models. So there's a lot of information out there that you can get. And if you do a security token offering, you have to put all those materials together.
Right.
It's not like a meme coin where you can just put up something and that's it.
That's it. Right. It's RWA, real world assets. So we're going to take a short commercial break so you can drink a little bit more water there. And we will be right back with Brian Esposito. So stay tuned. Okay, we are back, and I had to get a drink of water too. So
I hope your audience gets that commercial that I saw, because that beat was fire.
Oh yeah, it's out on social media. We're advertising. We're picking up the awareness in all social platforms. So we're excited. I'll be there in July. I was humbled to win an award last year and walk the red carpet.
Nice.
I'll be up there again for this TV series that I have through Mupo Entertainment, which I'm blessed to be able to. For those that don't know, it's in 144 countries. We are on Roku and Fire TV, and we are actually have an app, as that commercial said, on the Android as well as the iPhone. It's Mupo Entertainment. And we actually have 1,900,000 VOD videos on demand, with Netflix and Paramount looking at us right now. So that's very, very
amazing.
Yeah. So, and we're filming the making of Mupo. So we're in syndication with that, and that's in development. We'll continue in July with getting that off the ground and see what happens with that. So as we know it today, whether it's personal or professional, nobody does it alone. And it's about owning, sharing, and growing together today. It's about collaboration. So Esposito Intellectual Enterprises is your baby. I really should say is more of an adult today, focusing around time is our most precious commodity. So let's make the most of it, which I totally embrace. So what made you include that phrase as part of your business name? Because I've been hearing that so much over the last couple of years since I left corporate America. And it's like, yeah, time is, because once that time is gone, you can't replace it. When money goes away, you can replace money, or you can replace tangible things, but time you can't.
No, you cannot. I believe I'm an old soul, so I've always felt, not to get like dreary, but I always felt like I wasn't going to be in this form of a life long as we know it. I always felt this And not to sound morbid or I'm afraid of that, I just always felt like whatever. I don't even know how to describe it. But then when I was 8, my dad's father, my grandfather, passed away, and he was my absolute best friend. I think about him every day. I would run home from school to be with him, not be at the playground. Like, he was my guy. And that rattled me. And then I really instilled in me, God, at any moment, just that's it. You're gone for what we know. And then in fast forward to 2016, a drunk driver hits me in a car accident in Nashville, and I definitely shouldn't have walked away from that
Wow.
accident. So I've always had time as our most precious commodity over 20 years in my thought process and materials for my companies. The culture inside of the companies was like, hey, let's have a great day. There's going to be problems. We're going to overcome them, but
Mhm.
I don't want to be in a toxic environment. I don't want to, part of that is I'm very blessed. I think I have true freedom in my life, which is the ability to say no and make choices and say no to people I don't want to work with. So, being at where I am today really is a great place to be, and I would love for the world to get there. It takes a lot to get to that moment where you can
Mhm.
not be forced to work in a company that you hate, or a boss that you hate, or a colleague that picks on you, whatever your circumstances,
Sure.
and you're not alone. The whole world goes through just grief and stress, but you need to really look at that time as our most precious commodity. And you get up in the morning, but there's no guarantee you're going to get home
Right.
that day.
That's
That's just the
correct.
reality. And then I'm putting health aside, because really the real wealth is your health. If you have that, you have the ability to do and overcome and get anything that you need. So with that in your mindset, you got to be so smart about where you spend that time. It's an hourglass. Flip an hourglass upside down. Or there's a great movie with Eddie Murphy. I forgot the name. Christian, you may know it. Where every time he talks, a leaf falls off the tree. And apparently, at the end of that movie,
Mm.
the last leaf, that every word he says, a leaf falls off the tree. And I connected with that movie so well, except for the title, which I forgot. Um, you 1,000 words. That makes sense. So every time he spoke, a leaf fell off, and the premise is when the last leaf fell, he would die. He would pass away. So when with my mindset, time being limited, and
Good.
watching that movie, he got so like a brain surgeon towards the middle and the end, where what he said, how we would communicate, bringing the most value to that conversation, and
Right.
who we would say it to. And it was such a powerful movie. I think it deserves more than it got, as far as how powerful that movie was. But if you can tell your brain to visualize things like that, you have X amount of time in the day. What are you going to do? Who are you going to
Right.
spend it with? What are you going to do to make you happy? And I think you should always do that first and foremost, as long as you're not hurting other people in that
Sure.
process, and you're not
Sure.
being cruel. But you need to do what makes you happy, what makes you smile, what makes your soul just fire up. And if you're not doing that, you need to immediately figure out what those things are, what your passions are, what your loves are, what your desires are.
Mm.
And you need to do that at some point during your
Right.
day, because I guarantee you the rest of your day after that is going to be so much better than it would have
Right.
been if you're not doing that.
No, I so resonate with that, and it's like I keep talking about we were put here for a reason, and you need to find that reason. But I share that it starts with loving yourself first,
Yeah.
because so many people don't love themselves, and it took me over 60 years to get to that point. But it's better late than never. And when I really understood, it's like love yourself. Well, yeah, I love myself. Big deal, But when I really
Yeah.
looked into it and dove into that whole concept, it changed my life. And I truly believe each individual has unique assets and traits that are meant for them to make a difference and have an impact in the world.
Yeah.
And that's been a game changer for me. So, congratulations on your most recent, newest role as CEO for Diamond Lake Minerals, whose primary focus is specializing in the development and support of digital assets and SEC registered security tokens. So, with that, for those who are new to the digital world, because I keep hearing it's like less than 1% are really involved with this
Yeah.
world of tokenization, of blockchain technology, of the digital world. It just blows me away. But I guess I can understand it, because the more people I talk to, like, how, what are you talking about? But for those that are new to this digital world and blockchain technology, explain to our viewers, what are the benefits to those who are hesitant to getting educated around this revolutionary technology that will and has already started to change the world, just like computers did back in the day.
Yeah.
What was it, in the late 70s? Well, no, there were computers with the cards. I remember that. Oh my God, I'm just coming to that now. In 1973, I was punching cards to put it into the computers back then, but more the laptops and the Windows days, that kind of computer.
Yeah. You got to look at the evolution of, we'll call it transactional materials.
Yeah.
Why not? So if you go back to humanity, it was barter, then it was gold, then it was cash, credit, and now we're into that next phase of it being
Right.
digital assets. So it's here. I understand the intimidation, but so was getting a computer, right? So was going online. It was the first wave of people that connected with it, me being one of them, because I love to code and I really connected with the power of what we could do with this device. And then it turned into the ability for the world to connect when the internet was able to be brought to life. And also, people were intimidated by that process. But thankfully, companies like Prodigy and AOL made it somewhat easy to just click a button, look at a big logo, and
Right.
self-teach yourself how to mail. Oh, that's easy. Browser, that's easy. Message board. So it was very there's like a kindergarten book, if you remember back in the day, but it was really
Oh yeah.
well done in the way while it walked people through using it while teaching them to use it. That to me is the unfortunate issue present day with the idea of a digital wallet. There's nothing that simple to walk people into this new environment.
Exactly.
I don't think it's going to be the masses until you can go on your Charles Schwab account, your Merrill Lynch account, your Morgan Stanley account, your brokerage account, click a button and buy a token or security token, much
Right.
like you would buy your NVIDIA stock or your IBM stock or your Walmart stock. So when it gets to that level, that's where it becomes familiar for people and they
Right.
trust the process.
Right.
One of the major reasons why I went all in on getting involved with DLMI and taking this over as CEO and being that hybrid approach to, hey, you hear about digital assets, you can't get away from it. You can't get away from going online and hear about Bitcoin, BlackRock, ETF. All these meme coins are popping up everywhere. It's everywhere you go. Your kids are talking about it. Your nephew's talking about it. People at work, and you're not involved because it's intimidating. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to get a digital wallet on your phone, and you don't know, or you don't trust the exchange because you read all about FTX, and there's just
Right.
so many friction points.
Yes.
But you know how to buy a stock. So if you want to be in this space and you want to be with a company that's very experienced in this space and creating security tokens inside of their business model, which has traditional business models, which is DLMI, parent umbrella, replicating much like GE was back in the day, all these different businesses and industry agnostic businesses that we want to have underneath our operating company, and be industry agnostic and build these businesses like you would do any other business, create value, boost balance sheets, get in a position where we can pay dividends to our shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, we have a security token component where we can go out to a global audience and have people be able to buy into these businesses
Right.
that they never had a chance to buy into before. So what
Yeah.
does that do? You create this complete hybrid approach to what does the future of companies look like? What we believe this is the future, perfect future of a public company. And I think every public company will replicate this model because it just makes sense. And why not go outside the traditional means to help people generate wealth and to help fuel your business by bringing in new capital that you never had access to before?
Exactly. So we're going from the IPO days to the ICO days. And I share the story. 27 years software engineer, 2009, 2010, I was offered, to purchase 500 Bitcoin for like 0.0026 or whatever. I said, no, that's a scam. It'll never work, blah, blah, blah. But the last time I checked, it was $72,000 a coin. So you live and you learn from those experiences. And in 2017 is when crypto was coming across this screen, that screen. I got three screens here, so it's coming all over the place. I'm like, okay, something's going on here. I
Yeah.
need to step out of my comfort zone and check into this because I wanted nothing to do with it back then. But here I am today. So with that, what's on the horizon or in the brewing stages of Brian's next venture? If you can share, and if you
Yeah.
can't, I totally get it. So,
No, I
but
mean I'm transparent to a fault, much like the idea of blockchain and this whole Web3 movement. Uh, I love what we're doing at DLMI. It's my life's work, and it's I think a very special public company that its goal is to create value.
mm,
My job that I've done my entire private life was to always build value for the stakeholders that were involved in those different situations.
sure.
But now I get to take that and in a public forum, my learning experiences, my business savviness, if you want to call it that,
It is.
me knowing what not to do, which is more important than knowing what to do, and putting effort and time and energy and resources into a public company where we can change the game and we can build companies and we can create jobs and we can create rewards and earnings for our shareholders. That's my only job is to create value for our shareholders and do it in a way where hopefully other companies say that's the right way to do it and not go out and just do a BS pump and dump and just try to bring in
Absolutely.
money and not build a company. Like I refuse to do any of that. We're building a business. The value will come, the supporters will come. Feel the dreams. If you build it, they will come. I'm not in any rush to do that. And we're gonna do it the right way. And that's to answer your question, that's what's going to continuously be next for me is keep building this company to a level and to a value and to a place where we can all look back, everybody that's part of it and that bought into it and maybe bought our future security tokens and be proud of it.
Right.
I want people to hold this and be proud, like a Mickey Mantle card. And I'm not getting rid of
Sure.
this. This thing's gonna be worth more money tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing, and being able to be a security that people can buy into, and feel like they're in the industry, right? And they could talk about it.
Yes.
Which,
Exactly.
like you mentioned, it's more than 90% of the wealth is not in this space.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. I love it. And what my last question for you today is if there were one piece of advice that you could give anybody that's watching who is looking for that glimmer of hope from either a personal or a professional perspective, what would that be?
Oh, I like this question. There's a few that were so important to me in my evolution. Um, I like to give you a bunch of them, but one I think is really important is what helped me really become, I'll use the word calmer, not as upset as I'm Italian, I'm emotional, right? Where it's in our DNA. When I figured out a way to stop giving other people my mentality, it just freed my soul.
Mm,
Because how many times have you or anybody listening said, "Why did that person do that? I would never have done that. Why did they steal from me? Why didn't they call me back? Why didn't they this? Why didn't they that?" They're not you. Simple as that. They
right.
weren't raised in your household. They didn't go through all of your life experiences exactly like you went through them. And maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe that's just who they are. When you can relieve that question from your mind and just let people be people, and you start to take responsibility, if somebody comes into your life and upsets you or triggers you or causes you anxiety or grief or stress, it's not that person's fault. We are allowing it. We
We're
have
allowing it.
opened up that door and we've allowed that to happen. Now what gets hard, and it was hard for me for certain situations, was I had to cut people out of my life like a cancer because it just didn't work. It didn't work for me. I'm not judging them. They're not good. They're not bad. That's just who they are.
Right.
I know what works for me. I know I got this time as my most precious commodity. The amount of time in this day, as much as I may care about that person, or I'm trying to make them be the person that I think they should be, or I'm trying to bring them back to the person that they was. I'm not a priest. I'm not here to do that. Like, I can't fix you. I need to make sure that I'm in a good place mentally, and I
Right.
need to make sure with everything that I have going on that I have no erratic behavior around me that's going to cause me to have a domino effect to do something that may not have been my natural reaction. Like, other people can cause you to do things that take you off your path. So when
Yes.
you're very clear about this, and it took me, again, my whole life, but my work career, 23 plus years, and figuring out who I allow into my life, who I kick out of my life, who I put on pause for a little bit. And when you have a good formula and a good recipe of people
Mm-hmm.
around you, it's amazing. It's absolutely
Yes.
amazing. And
Yes.
I pray that people figure that out, because most turmoil, unless there's a chemical imbalance, is not internal. Most turmoil is caused from outside something.
Right.
And when you can identify what that is, and it's maybe unrepairable, then you have to get rid of it from your life. And that could be hard. That could be a cold decision, but you
Mm,
only got so much time here.
yeah, absolutely. And you can't change if it's a person. You can't change that other person,
Mm-mm.
um, no matter how hard you try.
No.
And that was a very big learning experience for me, just recently over the last couple of years. So before I start to close out, for those who are watching, go down here, the scrolling banner down here.
There it
That's where
is.
you can get a.
Follow the bouncy.
There you go. Follow the bouncing finger. So Brian, Brian, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be my special guest today,
Thank you.
sharing your story, sharing what you're doing. In the short time that I've learned about you through social media, it's been about 6 months. I've been following and just learning, picking up nuggets. I've learned, I've learned so much, but there's so much, there's so much more that I still have to learn, with
Thank you.
regards to what I'm doing and learning from other people. But you have been a catalyst to me in so many ways, and you will continue to do so with the value that you provide your audience. And you've been changing the world for decades with your value, with your heart, with your love, with your passion, for what you are doing. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you are a very, very humble man. And I can see that in the interviews and what you say and what you actually do. So I'm very, very thankful. So with that, as a global ambassador for an international, whoops, let's see here. What's going on here? Is it going to show up? Oh,
Oh,
well,
is it a scratch? It's a scratch off. You got to scratch
it's a
it.
scratch off. So what I'm going to do, there we go. As a global ambassador for real estate, international real estate fractional ownership, I'll have to put that back up at the end. We'll figure what that out. Technical difficulties.
That's
So
such as life.
okay, I am splicing this in because we had some technical difficulties. And for those who are interested, I am a global ambassador for an international real estate fractional ownership company. And I have humbly accepted to take a lead role in bringing this business model and opportunity to the North American market, as well as my expansive global outreach as well. And I invite you to experience the future of real estate investment through this international real estate fractional ownership business model, where tokenization, which we talked about with Brian, opens doors to global opportunities and financial growth. So just scan the QR code, register for the next group presentation or webinar, or you can have a private one-on-one with me. Specifically, if you choose that option, please feel free to do so, and we'll be happy to get you that information. So remember this, I believe we all should be living in abundance and optimum wellness, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, and you can too. And lastly, holistic mental and financial fitness is a new path to true wealth. I thank you all. Thank you, Brian, and I'll see you the next time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You thought I was playing?